Every farm has a story. When it comes to dairy farming, these stories are often only heard by the animals raised, the land stewarded, and the family that makes it all possible. Join me, Dairy Gal Val, as I interview individuals from across the dairy industry, both within the United States and across the globe, discussing topics like farm management, the food industry, ag business and technology, and most importantly, their farm story. This is the Dairy Hour Podcast. Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Dairy Hour Podcast. I'm here with Sammy Mendoza, and I just said this just fine, and now I'm going to slip up as I go to say it. And she is actually a California gal, and she works for BoviSync, who is another ag business on our ag business mini series. Sammy, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. And actually, off the air, we were just talking about her name is Samantha, and we were just talking about how we don't like to be called by our full names because that usually means you're in trouble. So that's why we go by our nicknames, and that works very well. So, Sammy, if you want to tell me a little bit about BovaSync, that would be a great way to start off.
Okay. Well, BoviSync is a herd management software. We're a little bit different than other herd management softwares in the fact that we are all cloud-based. So BoviSync runs off of a mobile app that enters all your data in cow side. So we'll build out all the protocols and SOPs in the background. And then that creates a lot of information and availability to enter in all of the data cow side when you're out in the pens doing all the chores and everything like that. So then we move to our web-based platform, which is where you'll do all the reporting and you can access it anywhere at any time, just off of your computer. So laptop, there's no hardware. Um, yeah, and that's BoviSync. Been super fun to work with BoviSync for, I think I've been with them for a little over a year now.
Very cool. So what kind of things, if you're out in the barn, what kind of things would you enter into BovaSync while you're out in the barn cow side?
It can be almost anything and everything. So you can freshen an animal that just calved. You can enter in the calf numbers, any chores or like events that you do daily. So repro shots, hospital chins, fresh pins, treatments, all can go into BovaSync at any time.
Very fascinating. And it just requires, could you do it all off of like your phone or an iPad, or do you need like a Wi-Fi connection?
It runs off of the Android platform. So as long as it's Android based, Google Play Store, you can download the app at any time. And then you just need Wi-Fi to sync the phone to get the information on. The information is stored, I believe it's 2 weeks in advance. So if your internet goes out, it's not a big deal. There's most of the information is stored there previously. And then you can just go out in the barns and enter everything in and then come back and sync the phone when you have Wi-Fi again and then it'll upload it to the cloud.
So do you have herds that are like specifically like they don't use any other management software? Is this like a standalone, or is this like a complementary to other herd management softwares? So tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, that's a great question. So BovaSync is standalone. It's just a standard herd management software, but we do interface with any other technologies on the dairy. So if you have activity systems, parlor interfaces, genomics, anything like that, it can all go into BovaSync to create a central location for all of the data to be stored.
That's really cool. And it's only Android based though. That's your downfall, you know.
Yeah, we're
The
working on it.
hardcore Apple girl over here.
That's
Oh
what we
my
get
goodness.
requests for that all the time. So I believe our engineers are working on it.
Fingers crossed, right?
Yeah, it make us
Oh
all
gosh.
happy. Mika's been trying to get it implemented for years now.
So what is your role within BovaSync?
So I am an account manager at BovaSync. I handle sales and account management for the West Coast. So I cover basically from Washington down to the panhandle of the Texas.
That's a large enough area. So
Yeah,
I'm guessing you do a lot of traveling, or is it a lot of just kind of doing troubleshooting over the phone, or how does
it's
that work?
it's a lot of traveling. I actually didn't realize that I'd be traveling this much. So good thing I don't hate it. um, I do travel a good bit, so I'm usually gone 1 to 2 weeks every month. Sometimes less when we get towards like the holidays and things, but am gone a lot. And then luckily with technology these days, I can do a lot of account management through the phone and through Teams and things like that. So keep pretty busy at home as well.
Yeah, that's handy with today's technology that you have that option to be able to not necessarily be right there, but be able to do things remotely, especially when traveling might not be an immediate option um, for different things. So that's fascinating. So, how many different accounts do you help manage?
I have a large handful. I'm not exactly sure the number, but I think it's somewhere around 40. I'm not quite sure.
Okay. Yeah,
But
that's a
yeah,
big handful.
yeah. And then just help out anywhere else is needed. So I will say the one thing that's great about BoviSync is we all cohesively work as a team. So if anything else is needed, we kind of all just jump in with each other and help each other out.
That's really, it's handy to have a very great team that works well together, especially on things like that. I know how hard it can be to, change your schedule up and be able to get somewheres where you might need to be, but you can't be. So definitely having those great coworkers that you can kind of work back and forth with is so important, and it definitely helps keep that travel and um, hardness of a job, help keep that at a minimum. So that's great. I was actually lucky enough to meet Sammy out at World Dairy Expo. Shout out to the Dairy Girl Network event. So we
Mhm.
happened to sit down at the same table and get chatting about it. And I definitely enjoyed sitting with, actually, there was, well, we're using the term handful. There was a handful of BoviSync girls at the table. So it was really great to get to know them and um, and get to enjoy that event. So you were out there working the booth for BoviSync, I'm guessing.
Yeah, that was Vika and I were doing some promotional videos the weekend prior to World Dairy Expo, and then I was primarily at the booth at Dairy Expo.
And where is BoviSync based out of?
BovaSync is based out of Wisconsin, so they're located right in Fond du Lac. And then
Okay.
we've got three sales reps. One manages Wisconsin, and then myself and Carrie manage the rest of the the nation, I guess you'd say. So yeah, we're kind
Okay.
of spread out. Mhm.
So, do you know like how long has BoviSync been around? Do you know a little bit of the history about that or no?
Yeah, so Dr. David Cook is the founder of BovaSync. He actually started working on BovaSync while he was doing grad school, finishing up his PhD. He actually camped out at dairies to develop a better solution for them to enter in data cow side. So he actually slept at dairies and really camped out and made sure that everything worked as easy as possible for him when he was developing this, which I think is like super fascinating because it shows the dedication that he had for this product. And then I believe that was almost 7 years ago since we put the first couple dairies on and really just got started trials and testing. And then it's been 4 years since we've been like cohesively doing sales and getting large numbers of dairies on.
That's great. And you guys are actually international?
Yes, we do have an international rep. I believe Bika is going to be on in a couple weeks.
She
Um,
is.
yeah, she's super excited. She emailed me, so that was super fun that we both get to be on. She is our international rep, and she covers most of Europe.
So spoiler alert for season two, because going to be on in a little in a few weeks. And I really look forward to talking to her because she has a fascinating story being over in Europe. So, spoiler alert, stay tuned. It's going to be fun. So Sammy, are there any other different technologies in the works or improvements that BoviSync is currently trying to make it an even better, more usable app? Anything like that, besides
We
obviously putting it on Apple.
yeah, there's that's one of the big ones. There's always updates coming for BovaSync. Since we are such a young company, we are always looking to improve the software for our users. So there's countless number of updates coming up. Everything gets upgraded to be the best for our customers. And we are always open to hearing feedback from our customers as well and getting those things sorted out with them.
Yeah, customer feedback is so important because it makes those that are using the service, it makes them more appreciative and know that the company is actually listening to what their wants and needs are rather than just being like, we're doing it this way. And if you don't like it, then too bad. But constantly evolving is a very important thing, especially for a young company that needs to basically find its niche and go
Yep.
and do well and be a very helpful tool for dairy farmers. So that's awesome. It's such a great company, and it seems like, I mean, I can be kind of partial, but it seems like they have some really great people working for them, which is always fantastic. So, Sammy, let's talk a little bit more about you. What kind of environment did you grow up in? You're in what part of California?
So I'm in the northern part of California. I'm about an hour north of Sacramento, closer to the Chico area. I grew up on a dairy farm my entire life. So my parents still run and own about 1,000 cow dairy farm here. Um, Very near and dear to my heart. I love the dairy industry. I actually grew up wanting to be a vet, did a couple little small things with the veterinarian practice before going off to college and realized it wasn't for me. And then I hit college, still kind of on that track, took chemistry for the first time and realized it really wasn't for me, wasn't going to go at that route at all. uh,
Yes.
yeah, so then
So
I
where
went to
did you go to? Yep, where'd you go to college?
yeah, I went to Cal Poly for 2 years. I just never really found my place at Cal Poly. I just didn't know what I wanted to do. I was still kind of in that like throwaway, I'm not quite sure where I'm going. Ended up transferring back to Chico State and got in with a really great mentor. My advisor was Selena Phillips, and she was teaching nutrition at the time. And she ended up just writing on my test one day, like, "Hey, this seems to like be like your thing. Like, you need to come talk to me." And so from there, I just really took off in nutrition, and I knew I wanted to focus in the dairy industry still. So she helped me get into grad school, and I went to UC Davis and did my master's in dairy nutrition. And then from there, at the end of that, loved it, was having a great time. But I just never really found, like I said, that niche place again. Wasn't really super competitive, didn't want to be competing against everyone else, which in the nutrition world is very, very
Very.
competitive. And I just didn't ever really find that niche. And I was talking to a couple other consultants, dairy nutrition consultants. And one of them actually sent my resume over to BoviSync, and he was like, "Hey, I really think you need to talk to these people. Like, they were really great, and I think you could do a lot with this." And that's how I stumbled and found BoviSync. And it was really funny because I didn't even know what BoviSync was. We almost had no presence out here in California. And I met with the team, and I was like, this is like a great fit, like team camaraderie, great teamwork. Loved the product, and it was really funny because we were on the dairy side actually looking for a new herd management software at the time. And I told my parents, I was like, even if they don't hire me, like, you guys really need to look into this product. Like, you guys need to actually look at this. And so that was actually my first sale.
So now we know why they hired you because they were like, oh, she's already getting farms on this and we haven't even hired her yet. So
have very
100%.
so yeah, have very supportive parents. They were all for it.
Well, that's a good thing that they weren't like, well, actually, this is
Yeah.
not the direction we want to go. So they use and like the software, which is important. Are you
Yep.
still like on the farm or do you live, a short distance away? How does that work?
So I live about 15 minutes away. I moved right after right before I graduated with my master's, actually. My now husband and I bought a house about 15 minutes away, but I'm still pretty active on the dairy. I'm there at least 2 to 3 times a week, um, actively helping them out with anything that they need. I'm the fill-in employee, so anytime they need anything, Sammy gets the call that she gets to come fill in for a little bit.
Well, that works.
Yeah.
Um, so I mean, you're not there all the time just having to troubleshoot BovaSync, right?
No, no. I do get those calls every once in a while, but usually it's just because my mom doesn't know quite where to look with the
Yeah,
technology lapse there.
100%. So I'm so happy to hear that you're still involved on your family's dairy because it's more often than not that, a daughter or son of a dairy farming family grows up and then either jumps completely out of the industry or just gets an industry job, doesn't really go back to the family dairy. So it's really great to hear that you still have those ties. Do you have any siblings still on the dairy, or is it just you? How does that?
I have a younger brother and he helps my dad with the majority of the farming and some of the feeding, but we really try to make the dairy a family aspect. I mean, none of us really left. We both have severe ties into the dairy industry, and I couldn't imagine it any other way. So I knew from the get-go that dairy industry was where my passion was.
Well, that's good. We're happy to have a young professional like you who still has that interest in the actual dairy side as well as, the other side of things, whereas you have all these other businesses that dairies obviously need, especially in this day and age, to help make things work. So that's really great that you still have those family ties and that ability to still be working on the dairy, even if it is just as a fill in, but you're still getting that farm experience, that farm feeling, I guess you could call it.
Yeah.
Um, because it is scary the alarming rate that people are being removed from dairy farming. So that's really exciting to see you still there. Now, being a California dairy farm, are they running into any issues with that, or are you guys northern enough that you don't have too many of those issues, or what's it like, I guess, dairy farming in California?
Um, I mean, California, I think, is always going to have its own set of issues when facing any type of farming. I mean, there's environmental regulations, labor regulations, tons of different, I guess, issues that come across our plate every day. It's hard, but you just kind of take every hit as best you can and try to work your way around it and keep going. I mean, the bigger you are, I think it almost is easier because you have some of the cash availability to take those hits a little bit better, but we're not taking out family farms anytime soon. So
Yeah.
we keep going.
Yeah, it's tough. And being from New York, we tend to unfortunately shadow California's wonderful decisions
Yep.
sometime, if you can sense the sarcasm in my voice. Usually if California does it, New York farms are just like, oh no, shake
Yep.
shake your head, like this is coming down the pike. We need to be proactive to not let this happen, or try to figure out a way to beat it to fruition, because it is tough, and especially when rules and regulations are being made by non-farming individuals, they just don't get it. And the sad part is it's not like they just don't get it, but a lot of times they don't make the effort to
To understand it.
correct. They just like
Yeah.
to be like, yep, this, and check another box and keep on rolling down the path of, I guess, destruction of our our farms, unfortunately. I don't
Yeah.
think that a lot of people realize the damage that they do to farms when passing some of these regulations. They see it very one-sided, and they don't work very hard to see the effects down the road or the effects of the other side of the coin. So, completely opposite sides of the country, and boy, do we a lot of times feel the same effects on things. So,
Yep.
um,
It's
oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say it's just interesting because I did know that you were in New York, and I was like, well, they do tend to follow us, so have some same experiences there.
Yes. Oh my gosh, it's terrible. But I mean, we do in New York, we're like, look what California is doing now. Oh no, now we're going to end up doing that. And yeah, labor regulations and all of those different things. It's definitely been a struggle. And you guys milk a lot more cows than we do. So, as a smaller farm of only, between 170 and 200, you know, like you said, the cash availability to meet things head on sometimes is not there for a smaller farm with less all around. And I mean, we're fortunate enough to have all of these other diverse businesses within our farm, but it's still just some of the things really get quite tough. But
Yeah.
here we are, sticking through it.
Keep rolling
So
with the
just
punches.
keep on trucking, right? So another cool thing that Sammy and I both realized that we had while we sat together through a very delicious wine and cheese pairing at the Dairy Girl Network event is that we both have a love for horses and um, just a very different type. So, Sammy, if you want to
Yes.
talk a little bit about your, I guess you could talk about your horsey side for a minute.
Okay. Well, I grew up riding horses since I was 5. I started in the quarter horse bomb, but then I moved into the Arab industry. So I've been showing, uh, I did, I have an all-around background, but for the most part, I stuck to country English or saddle seat. So I have 4. 2 were out of they're in retirement, so I guess I have 2 at the time. But 1 saddle seat, and then my quarter horse still gets trail ridden. So 2 horses. Gone everywhere from regionals to youth nationals. Unfortunately, as an adult, I haven't gotten to show as much because now I have fun responsibilities. But
Darn
did go
jobs.
I know. I did go to youth nationals a couple times, have some accolades there. Highest one being reserve champion in the costume class at youth nationals. So it's been
Yes,
a very fun journey.
and your costume. So Arabians, I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about that for because I don't feel like a lot of people know the whole Arabian world.
Um, yeah, so I mean, it's the Arabian breed industry, so there's half Arabs and purebreds, both mixed together. One of the funnest classes that we do at the shows is costume classes, which is an emulation of the Arabian princesses and what they would wear, kind of galloping across the desert into battle or just when everything's going on. So you get to dress up with some really fun, sparkly costumes.
That fascinates me. I should just borrow one of your costumes to go barrel racing with one day
Yes.
and be like, hey guys, look at me. I'm an Arabian princess riding my
Yes,
quarter horse.
definitely do that.
Oh gosh. Even though sometimes, I mean, in a sandy arena galloping across the desert, I mean, same thing, right?
Yeah,
But
you
that just, it fascinates me because I don't know if I've ever actually met anyone that shows Arabians and like does all the things. So it's just, it's really cool to hear that side of you and just you being a dairy farmer first and foremost, but then also having that horse background. So I relate with that 100%
yeah,
because
it's
the
really fun.
cows, yeah,
It's
the
really fun
cows are
meeting you
the,
guys.
sorry, I think there's a little bit of a lag. My apologies.
Oh no,
Um,
you're fine.
it's really cool that, obviously I enjoy going up to the barn and then having my horses. Most of the time they're enjoyable. Every once in a while we have moments of non enjoyable time together, but
Just a
it's
moment of disagreement.
yeah, my horse tends to be one big lump of disagreement, but that's besides the point, right? Um, so what is your, I mean, you're fairly fresh out of college. What is your advice for someone who just doesn't quite know what they want to do? They know that they want to be in the dairy industry. Maybe someone coming from a farm, not sure if they want to go back to the farm. What's your one piece of advice that you would give them?
I know it sounds cliche because when everyone said this when I was in college, I didn't believe them because I felt like I just had to stick to a track and figure out where I need to go. But you will find where you need to go, and don't hold yourself into one line because that's almost never going to work. I mean, you can make it work, but there's a ton of opportunities out there and you will find where you need to be. 100% believe in, faith in yourself and just believe in yourself. But my biggest advice would just be to explore your options, go to trade shows and talk to people, find something that you're interested in, and just make relationships. I think, you can go to school and have all of the degrees that you want, but really what comes down to is the relationships that you gain with the people and just talking to people and getting to know their story, the company stories, and finding where you fit best in that world.
I like that. I like that advice a ton. I come from a similar frame of mind where, I enjoy taking opportunities that are given to me and not just being like, well, it doesn't fit with, this line of thinking, which is kind of where I saw myself, but maybe I'll do some of this. I definitely enjoy being one that says yes to different opportunities, meeting different people, trying different things out. I feel like that's important just in life in general. So I 100% agree with that. That's kind of how I became a milk inspector. I didn't go to college going, I'm going to college to be a milk inspector. It just happened to be someone said, oh, I think you'd be really good at this. There's a job opening. Maybe you should apply for it. So then it opened up that whole idea of like, oh, maybe that would be kind of neat. And it would definitely bring a whole different level of knowledge and actually make you a more well-rounded person by taking different opportunities, taking chances, and going out on a limb. I mean, what's the worst that's going to happen? You might need to rethink where you are. And the good news is we live in America and you can up one day and be like, I think I'm going to go do something different or,
Yep.
Similar, but maybe kind of different. Um, I love it. So you've traveled around the country a lot. I would like to know, where's your favorite spot that you have been?
Oh, that's such a hard decision. In I will say there's no place like home, and California may have its downfalls, but I do love home, and I love when I get to come home from the dairy or to the dairy and just, find peace in it all. Traveling wise, I guess my favorite place to just be driving through the countryside and looking at everything. Northern Washington is beautiful. I will give all of its credits to that fact that I love the trees and the seasons changing, and it's probably one of my favorite places to be on the road there.
Well, there you go. Have you gotten to travel internationally yet? Or,
I haven't gone to travel internationally for business for job purposes yet. But my husband and I did do our honeymoon in Greece and Italy, and
oh,
they were amazing spots to visit. So
those are
I'm ready to
bucket
go back.
list. Yes,
Yeah.
those are seriously bucket list places for me to go.
Mhm.
Just to go eat my way through Italy would be like the
The
best
dream.
thing.
It's the
Oh my
dream.
gosh, that would be amazing. Favorite, did you go to like Venice? Venice has always intrigued me.
We did go to Venice, so we did Athens and Santorini in Greece, and then Rome and Venice in Italy.
Oh, that sounds like so much fun.
It was amazing.
The dreams, right? I got
Yes.
my husband to go to Hawaii on a honeymoon because it was one of those like we can pick anywhere so we can do something.
Mhm.
So why not go to Hawaii? Because when are the chances that we're ever going to get to go to Hawaii again? So
That was exactly our thinking when we chose our destination. We're like, this is the one time we're gonna be able to do like anywhere, anything. We might as well do
yes.
something fun.
Oh my gosh, 100%. And that's the thing. My husband is, 6'4" and not like a string bean. So he had to cram, you're like crammed into a
Cram in the
plane. And it
airplane.
is such, from New York to Hawaii is such a long flight, which I'm sure California to Greece and Italy is also quite a long flight. But
Mhm.
he's like, yep, I loved it. I'm never going back again though, because it was too long of a plane ride. So I got my one time go at it to go with him. And thankfully he's the cool guy that's just like, you can go wherever you want. I'm not going with you though. So
At least he gave you his blessing.
yes, as he says, why go somewhere else when there's so much in America to explore? So I mean,
This is
I
true.
can't be mad at him for that, but like I've got the European bug and he is like not having it. And I've tried for years to be like, we should totally do this. You would really like this trip. And he's like, nope, I'm good. Ah,
Well,
so
being from New
frustrating.
York, you're closer to Europe than you would be to Hawaii. So
Yeah, but he's
you're
like, I have
welcome to
no desire to go to a foreign country unless it's like Mexico on a beach. And I'm like, that's boring. There's so many other places out there to explore. But men, still.
yeah.
So I like to end the podcast with some random questions because it's just fun and I'm all for having fun and good conversation. So we already kind of talked about traveling, because that's always a fun conversation. Anyways, your go-to ice cream flavor.
Anything with chocolate.
She's a chocolate girl. That works.
Yep.
And how about your, let's see, your go-to like comfort meal?
I love pasta. So any pasta that I can make, it's all comfort. So probably my favorite would be like a pesto pasta is my comfort food.
That is delicious. And so you did make the right decision by going to Italy then,
Yep.
because it's all about the pasta and we're fine with that.
I
All the
was making a
carbs,
great
all the
decision.
time.
Yep.
Yes, all the carbs, all the time. So you're listening to music. What's your go-to?
Um, I see, I don't settle down with music. I jump from one genre to the next. Normally I'd go to country, just turning on the radio, but I can jump from country to rock to anything all in one sit down.
Same. I must say, same. I am very, yeah. Rock isn't my like go-to, but like that early 2000s,
Yep.
like whether it be like the hip hop, the pop, like all that fun stuff. And then I got into like a little bit of like the Blink 182, Sum 41, like that's probably as like I guess you'd call it rock as I kind of went, but I
Yeah.
definitely am a music junkie as far as just listening to a whole bunch of different genres. So I definitely feel that. See, we live in similar states, we're on opposite ends of the country, and here we go, right?
Yeah, yeah, tons of similarities. This is what networking does.
100%. See, Dairy Girl Network should sponsor a podcast, because I mean,
They
look
really
at the
should.
relationships that they create, right? And I'm going to end it on this one. If you won the lotto without telling anyone, how would we know you won the lotto?
Oh, there'd probably be like 5 horses in my backyard the next day. So be on the lookout for that.
She's all of a sudden she's got like these horses in her backyard, and there's like a new barn going up and all this stuff. Yeah. Okay.
It's either
That's
that or the dairy is going to have like a brand new rotary going in or something phenomenal.
to heck with dairy farming at that point, right?
Yeah. Although you need something to do, something to keep you busy.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that'll do it. You just have all these other people doing the work and you can just sit on your throne, right? No.
Yep. Exactly.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Sammy, do you have any great parting words for us?
Well, thank you for having me on this podcast. I've enjoyed getting to know you, Val, and I
Thank
really hope
you.
that I brought at least a little bit of wisdom to anyone looking to venture into the industry from school. Just remember to always believe in yourself.
100%. And do you want to plug where people can find BoviSync or find any information on that?
Yeah, so you can follow BoviSync on both Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. It's just BoviSync as our username. And then our website is bovisync.com. And you can contact us there and get any information. And we also have a YouTube channel as well. And you can find that on a link from our website.
Excellent. And I will link those in the show notes for spelling purposes and ease of finding purposes. So, Sammy Mendoza, thank you so very, very much for joining us on today's episode of the Dairy Hour. It was absolutely awesome to get to sit down with you and chat for this chunk of time, and we even made it work on opposite coasts of the country, so that is great. This is not the end of you and I chit-chatting and having fun. So we're going to keep that in mind. And with that, I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode of the Dairy Hour podcast. I am your host, Dairy Gal Val, or Val Levine, and I am signing off. Please leave us a review and share with your friends. Have a great day.
Thank you so much for listening to today's podcast. Please be sure to subscribe to be notified of future episodes and leave a review. You can find me on most social media platforms at Dairy Gal Val or online at dairygalval.com. Thank you so much for coming to the Dairy Hour.